Welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of the Classic Plus show. And today we're joined by a very well-renowned guest who's known for some very interesting antics, NoHitJerome.
Yo, what's up?
Tello, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm happy Jerome's here. Life's great. Life's great when Jerome's around, brother. That's
Absolutely. All I know. Jerome quite literally flew out and is streaming in my spare room, as you can see from his background. And Tello is streaming with his own clone. But today's episode is an interesting one. We are talking about MOP, TBC Anniversary, the retail drama, and on top of that, the player base and the future of it, specifically the classic player base. So without further ado, we're going to jump in to the very first topic, an overview of SoD. Now, effectively, SoD is starting to end. Whether people want to really admit that or not, we know for a fact that even if we do get a Phase 9, it's kind of like a goodbye phase. But what are your thoughts overall on everything so far, Jerome? As you're the guest, we're going to let you open up. What is your overview of the phase?
All right, so I really like the raid. It's super awesome, but there is a really big problem, which is the loot scarcity is definitely it's wearing on me a lot, especially when I look at the Sims. I look at my rep paladin, supposed to be doing 1,500 more DPS with just the 2 set, and it's like just getting that gear is taking me a long time, so it's like, on one hand, I know I'm going to have so much fun when I have all the gear. On the other hand, it's like, it's just taking forever, so.
Okay, understandable. And Tello, I know you've made a video on the gold issue lately with world buffs, but we'll come to that in a bit. What is your thought on the loot scarcity? Because that is a big thing I'm hearing all over the internet, the forums, Reddit, that everyone likes Scarlet Enclave, but the fact that you're raiding for so long to potentially get maybe one piece every 2 or 3 weeks is really wearing on people. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, it is. It can be a Debbie Downer when you go into a raid and it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to clear. You put all your time and investments to have a good positive mindset of clearing the bosses and getting loot, and then you realize that your tanks need the loot first, your healers need the loot first, and some people, they don't go in there with guilds, they go in there with pugs, so they expect that they're going to get the prio, and then that can lead to loot drama, that can lead to loot council, that can lead to maybe even people just rolling need on everything and just trying to get something out of nothing. But at the end of the day, yeah, it sucks. It definitely does suck. But so far, I'll say for myself, at least, I did get 2 pieces. I think Jerome has more pieces, and he's lying, actually. Jerome, why don't you speak the truth?
How many pieces
do you got, liar?
I don't even feel like I have any sometimes.
What are you talking about? I think this dude had 3 pieces off the rip.
But no, unironically, out of curiosity, how many pieces of loot did you get out of Scarlet Enclave, Jerome?
I don't know, some days it feels like so little loot comes to my way that I don't even want to play, honestly.
Man took the loot from his guild and is debating quitting. You heard it here first. Streamer privilege.
Okay, yeah, the reality is I did make a guild, take all the loot, and then we disbanded, yes, so.
I mean, listen, all jokes aside, it is scarce. Let's not memes aside, it is scarce. It does suck. People are quitting when it comes to not getting what they want, putting all this time investment, and it's a rough life out there in the Scarlet Streets. It's not for the faint of heart. But I will say, with more and more weeks that pass by in these fragments, you get the chalices, you keep getting more pieces, and people keep getting those 2 pieces to give them a motivation booster. Eventually, until you get your full set, I do think people that will not be as upset about it anymore because they got their complete sets, and then a new conversation will arise. But it is unfortunate for the people that are stopping and choosing to not play anymore because they don't got any more any loot from the raid, pretty much.
If you were to fix the loot issue, how many more pieces of loot would you add to each boss? Because I know it's tuned for 20 people, and I know a lot of people consider that to be Agron's biggest lie. But if you were to add more loot, would you scale it to 40 man? Or what would you scale the loot to make it fair and balanced to the average guild and player?
Well, I think it starts at the beginning where I think you would drop way more off pieces and have your off pieces be super relevant and better than the tier. But they didn't do that, so here we are. I would say just make it scale to 40 at this point. People need their loot, and yeah, just give us the loot. Okay, I'm struggling over here. I need my gear.
What about you, Tello? What would you do?
I mean, there's two sides how I see to it. I think one, if you give more people more loot, then the content dries out faster. You know, so content drying out faster leads to game being dead, leads to people going on the forum saying, "Stupid dev, stupid game, can't wait to Panda Land." You know what I mean? And honestly, sign me up for Panda Land too. Why not? But besides that, the other option of the alternative is, give us a bunch of loot, let us have fun, let's just test the data, what we get from these set bonuses, and see how crazy the classes get. And by the end of this phase, was it broken or was it not broken? And then we can make a collective decision to use that information for Classic Plus on whether we should put a check mark on that or, just not include that within the game. So I think either way, it's actually beneficial to collect data at the end of the day for Classic Plus. But do I want more people getting loot and having fun? Of course I do. But people have to realize, when you do these raids, they are a time an investment. And, Scarlet Enclave is no joke. It's the hardest raid we've ever seen, to be honest, within all of every single phase of Season of Discovery.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I completely think you're correct on that point, that if you give everybody the loot, it's pointless. It becomes like phase, like Molten Core essentially, where everybody was just blitzing through it. But if we don't give enough loot, we have the Scarlet Enclave issue right now where people are quitting. It's one of the biggest things I've been seeing online is that people are just saying, why bother? Why am I even raiding? And I've seen a lot of people start to quit week over week. Despite that, the raid numbers don't seem to have declined yet, which is interesting. If so many people are quitting, you would expect the SoD player numbers to kind of fall off, but it has not, which is curious, I guess. I do think adding 1 or 2 more pieces of loot per boss would help a lot. But you want to say something, Tello? What's up?
No, I think you're buzzing real quick, your mic.
Oh shit. As I was saying, when it does come to loot, adding 1 or 2 more pieces of loot would help a lot and fix and alleviate a lot of the issues. Just adding an extra 2-tier pieces per boss, it would have added 10 extra pieces of loot across the raid for a lot of people and guilds that are struggling with the first 5 bosses for the most part. But moving on from the loot issue, I want to talk about the gold problem you're talking about when it comes to how much consumes and world buffs are necessary to even clear the raid. And you made a video quite literally saying that people need 30,000 gold per week if they're trying to be efficient. Go a bit more on that. That's a really curious topic.
I think some people in the comments, they didn't understand what I was getting at when I was like talking about the economy. It's the fact of the matter is that you got to look at it from this point of view. 3 weeks the raid has happened, and I think we can all agree on this, from Jerome's chat and all of us together. 3 weeks the raid has happened. 3 weeks of non-tuning correction by the developers, and this is not to hate on the devs, but I'm just speaking facts here. There was no PTR for this raid. There was no, actual player in-depth testing like we've had in the previous phases, right? So nothing was tested with this raid. So there was no tuning correction on these bosses until weeks after weeks after weeks of people spending all their gold, spending countless hours in raid, and that's on top of now with Ashbringer questline and all the materials you needed for that. And you have to look at it from this perspective. Some people were saying in the comments, oh, well, you could cheap out and buy Elixir of Giants or Elixir of Mongoose. I'm not saying you can't do that. Of course, I still bring Giants myself. But what I'm saying is that when you look at every single consumable in the game, and you have to bring 10 to 20 stacks of them, depending on what you need, if you're rolling, tank, whatever, etc., you have to bring in a lot of stacks and prepare for wipes. What happens if you get a couple wipes on Beatrix before the nerfs? You're only bringing 10 stacks of Giants? You're only bringing 10 stacks of Mongoose? You're going to be hurting your raid in terms of damage. If you're not at least doing a minimum of 4 to 6k damage in the raid, you're not helping your other raid members. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's just the facts. So what do you need to hit that damage? You need all these consumes. You need all these world buffs. Let's talk about frozen runes. Go check the economy right now on frozen rune market. It's about how much are frozen runes right now? I think if we can answer that fairly. If you guys are, I know Jerome's playing, but if
It's like
you could
15
play,
gold.
yeah, it's like 15 gold, right? 15 gold a frozen rune. And how many do you need for those for raid, my friends? How many? A couple, right? Or more than a couple. You probably need an entire pocketful to fill up the entire Wall Street in order to get the raid completely, like with no issues. My point is this. you need a lot of consumes. People blew through a lot of mats. And for me alone, 220 stacks of a Mage Lord and Honey Badger is 150 gold each. That's already 300 gold on only 2 consumes. What about every other consume? Dragon Breath chilies. Look at the price of chilies right now. Super expensive. And if you're not farming them. And if you don't have the cooking, and that's on top of getting the feast, which people are like, oh, the feasts are for the entire raid. That's great, but a lot of personal foods are better for parsers, and that's just a fact. So regardless of that, at the end of the day, to say that this raid is not expensive or it's an easy time to make gold, no one's saying, not denying that. But the problem is that this is the most expensive phase we have ever been in. That is 100% a fact. There was no denying that. And if you're denying that, you're probably doing 3 out of 8s or 2 out of 8s in Scarlet Enclave. And much love to you. There's no hate on that, but it's just the fact, bro.
Yeah, it's very valid with how expensive consumes are. Jerome, how much do you spend per week on consumes? I know you farm a lot yourself, but...
Well, it all started when I was trying to get our raid through progression so I could steal all the loot, obviously, right? So I had to, like, I bought them all, the Holy Protection, the Graders, and, like, all the Frozen Rune and stuff. But then, I don't know, so that you can anywhere from, like, 2,000 gold for something like that, or maybe, I don't know, a few hundred, but... The thing is, if you're really trying to brute force progression with consumes, it gets so expensive so fast. And if you're trying to run things, you have to bring the world buffs, you have to bring the feasts, you've got to bring people consumes like the pots. So kind of depends. If you're a raid leader right now, this is an expensive phase.
I agree. 100%. You're bringing more pots than the drug dealer. All due respect. It's the facts. It's insane. And people forget defense pots, fort pops, health potions. What about the new health potions? The one that like heals you for like 35 or 4,500. And then I know I can cleanse that with the poison that gives you the debuff. Those are the new big health potions you use in raid now, not the major health potions. If people are using major health potions, you're actually hurting your raid and you're actually hurting your healers. You're not respecting your healers this time to save them more mana. So, with all due respect for these people that like were in my comments or even saying the stuff like, "Oh, I'm only bringing 200 to 300." Yeah, but I'm sure your raid leader and your actual raid team, the higher ups, are doing all the rest. So yeah, maybe you might be able to get away with a little bit, but not everybody else is like you. Everybody who actually wants to clear successfully wants to bring all the consumes possible. So maybe I would say realistically, maybe it's like 600 gold a week, but that's still freaking pricey. 600 gold still pricey. I was saying 800 for one. If for 40 members in a guild, 800 a person, that is 32,000 gold a week. So if everybody is bringing all their consumes and stacks and prepping for wipes, that's what I was saying.
So out of curiosity, do you think the raid is clearable without consumes? Do you think any guild can clear it with, like, say, 35 people, no consumes on anybody?
No consumes, no nothing? Fuck no. Hell no. No shot. We might as well be packed up and playing Turtle WoW at this point. No shot, dude. No, not even a day on Tatooine will be able to pack that raid up. And it's not going to happen.
So effectively you're saying that it's not that you need to spend the gold, but if you don't, you're not clearing the raid.
If you're not spending the gold and bringing the consumes, you're not clearing the raid because you're not being respectful of your tank's time and your healers, who are the two most important specs in the game when it comes to any raid. If you're just a basic DPS and you're not bringing any consumes, you are not helping your guild members, your guild officers. Even if you're with pugs, you're not respecting their time. It's just a fact. And if people want to deny that and say, "Oh, I'm just bringing mongooses," that's cute, that's adorable, nice 2 out of 8. Congratulations. Well, I'll see you when I'm on Calderan next week. I mean, come on, man. It's just the facts, dude. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Maybe I'm coming off like a dick, but it's just some of these people need a wake-up call, man. You need every consume in the book under the sun in order to complete Scarlet Enclave. It's just the facts. Not just a couple consumes, because like I said, if you're doing that stuff, you're not helping out your other raid, your other guildies or your other raid members. It's just speaking factual stuff here.
No, it's understandable. I think it just ties back into the problem of the raid being overtuned and not as efficient for the vastly oversized casual player base of SoD. I remember Jerome made a post on the forums and he got shit on by a lot of people. But a lot of people did defend him, and he was saying that for the average guild, it's nigh impossible. And you had people that were sweaty saying, "My guild did it, you're just bad." And yes, was the content creator guild we made bad? Yes, it definitely was not great. But
we had a lot of fun.
We did. But the problem is,
fun. It's about fun at the end of the day, man. Yeah.
it's the average players. We didn't take anyone particularly amazing. And again, I'm not here to say, if you take gray or green passes, it's your fault, etc. But for the entirety of SoD, you could clear every raid with anybody for the most part. You could do hard mode 0 if you're all ass. You don't have that option with Scarlet Enclave. And it's okay for the last raid to be hard, but I do think they missed the point, sadly. The mark of what a hard raid for the classic player base should be. Because if you think about it, from you needing consumes to actually be able to clear the raid, to bosses having little one-hit mechanics, the fact that a couple days ago, I'm not sure how many raids it is as of today, but there was 19 guilds that had cleared Calderan on 20-man. For a raid tuned to 20 people, only 19 guilds had cleared it. Now, that number's probably higher now. I don't think it's still 19. But it shows that the problem with SoD is it is not really a raid tune for 20 people. And that ties into all the other issues you guys were mentioning, from loot scarcity to gold cost and everything else. If you had to rate Scarlet Enclave as a raid, 1 to 10, where are you putting it? Jerome, go ahead.
Okay, I'm putting it at 7.7. Okay, it's got slightly too many retail mechanics, which, I personally, that kind of freaks me out. It's got the difficulty, it depends on where you are in the game. If you're in a super insanely good guild, you're having a lot of fun with it. If you're in sort of average guild, you're kind of pissed off right now, sorry to swear. And if you are not getting any loot, you're not going to have any fun. Like, some people have already finished their Ashbringers. Over the coming weeks, we're going to see a lot of people finish Ashbringer. For Ret Paladin, that's a 2k DPS increase. For Fury Warrior, that's a 1.5k DPS increase. Melee Hunter is 1.5k as well around. So it's that's going to be so much fun to get those weapons. But for me, I'm still pretty far away from that. So I don't know. I think you're going to have a lot of fun if you are doing really well. And otherwise, the fun is still going to be coming over time.
Respectable. What about you, Tello? Where are you rating the raid? Not the phase, just the raid itself.
I think I give it, I would say a solid 8. I genuinely think that the raid itself, from an artistic standpoint, new content, something that we've never seen before, is cool to have in, Season of Discovery. It's just a good idea to have within Classic, no matter what, like bringing more new content to Classic so players can enjoy, staying within this world that we all, enjoy and love. But as far as the mechanics and stuff, there is a lot of similarities to retail. There's a lot of similarities to retail. Are they enjoyable for some? Yeah. Are they enjoyable for others? Probably not. But I do think, and I'm going to stick to my guns here saying this. I said this last week, I believe on the last episode of Kago, but I just said this to even my own chat as well, is that just because something is hard doesn't mean it's always a retail-like thing. I think challenge is good. It's and don't get me wrong, this is Blizzard we're talking about. This ain't like From Software. They're making Elden Ring and Dark Souls, right? That company over there, they understand the concept of challenge, where you can have challenge, but it's fun. You can overcome the issues or the challenge that you're faced with in front of you. But I do think Blizzard needs to realize too that when it comes to Classic Andes, a majority of their player base is not us three up here. It's not the top parsers in the world. A majority of the player base is you guys, and it needs to cater more to you guys, because at the end of the day, you guys are the ones who play this game, who are the majority of the game, and it should be about the Classic player base. And I respect that, because at the end of the day, I'm not the dev of the game, I'm not the engineer of the game, but I can understand for, the common player, they just want to have fun with their friends and do content, And if they can do the mechanics properly, even Kago mentioned this, if they could do the mechanics properly, they should be rewarded for that. And, I respect that.
Very well put, very eloquent. So we're going to move on from the Scarlet Enclave. And we did touch on Phase 8 a little bit. It's a relatively fun phase. It's pretty good. We want to talk about Khonshu for a little bit and how fun Khonshu was and how well it did. So Tello, go ahead. You wanted to talk about it.
Oh, dude. And I know Jerome is on the same boat with this, but dude, that was badass. As a person who loves games with like an epic boss or bosses, and just seeing how the secret Discord, shout out to them, because honestly they deserve all the support for finding out about the ninja outfit, the Mortal Kombat connection, just getting to Kansu and doing the whole like ability where everybody could do the warrior thing to get the shades. It like wearing the shades right now, shout out to Kansu. But yeah, it's pretty badass, and I gotta say I love it. I think it was absolutely sick. For me personally, it was one of my favorite pieces of content doing in Season of Discovery, this phase that I've ever done. And it all led up from previous phases, all like the secret things that they were learning, the knowledge, and finding out these tips and tricks, and the devs are giving them small little hints here and there. But honestly, I hope they do more stuff like that, because I think that is what is needed for Season of Discovery players. I think that's needed for future Classic Plus players. I think that's healthy for the game, and it's something cool. It's a cosmetic. It has nothing to do with player power, any buffs, nothing. It is purely fun and entertainment. Nothing wrong with that. But what do you think, Jerome? Did you enjoy the whole Kansu thing?
Bro, it's amazing, dude. And you know what's so crazy about Kansu? It feels like the ultimate like challenge, and they got to put something like that in every phase of every version of Classic they ever make. They got to do something like that. It's so cool. I mean, the quest line, people are still working on it, but the actual boss itself is so unbelievably cool. And I mean, it does kind of remind me that Classic is still an MMO, and like it's not Dark Souls, and you
True.
could get hit by things you're not supposed to get hit by. But I mean, it's freaking awesome. It's really cool. And also, what's cool is like if you're like us, like I mean, some people thought I was really, really awful at the game, and they thought I was the worst. But then I killed Kansu, and now I'm the best. And like they have to respect me, and like my mom
True.
finally respects me, and her boyfriend's like finally kind of respected me and stuff. Like it's pretty awesome.
Wow.
Like my sister started talking to me again, so yeah, it's cool. It's cool stuff.
It's good to hear that your wife's boyfriend finally respects you, Jerome. It's really nice.
Yeah, my wife's boyfriend. Yeah, because he did not before.
Understandable.
Oh, he even got a new house.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually moved in.
Yeah. Holy shit, dude. Badass. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But moving on. Do you guys have any real final thoughts you guys want to say about Phase 8 overall? Like, I know we talked about the raid, we talked about the phase a little bit, but is there any parting things you want to say about SoD now that we're essentially getting to the end of it? I expect the coming few weeks, SoD's player base is going to dwindle, and we may get a phase 9, we may not, but now that you've experienced it for so many weeks, fought the bosses, done everything, do you have any thing you want to share about the phase in totality?
I liked it a lot. I love that they tested new things. I know that not all of it's going to work. I mean that's to be expected. I think they definitely showed if they're going to do a Classic Plus in the future, it's going to be amazing. And yeah, I would. My only big thing is I wish they would take a little bit more community feedback. It's like they still kind of just do the things they want to do, which is fine, but I think to get to the true point where we need to get, they're going to have to start listening to people more, and like things like polls and stuff, which they have previously said, we don't want to do polls because people might brigade them. They basically talking about Asmongold, but I don't really see anybody like brigading polls these days. So I don't really know why they wouldn't just ask us for feedback at some point.
Valid. Jerome? Or Jerome Tello?
I mean, I could answer again if you want. Like, I'll answer
Is
twice.
Evan dying over there? What's wrong?
My voice. I apologize.
Oh,
It was
I'll do a
Kansu
second
attempt.
answer, though.
Oh,
okay.
Yo, boys, I'm packed up today, and I just wanted to say that, yeah, we gotta cut that part. Forget about this. Don't put that in.
All
though.
right.
You don't need to edit that out.
Oh,
That's not getting
character
edited.
infringement.
That's not getting edited.
Infringement, damn it. All right, cut that man out of this damn
Cut that man
podcast.
out.
Get him out of here. Spit on a guy. However, though, like I said, as far as the phase go, yeah, it was pretty damn fun. Did it have its problems? Sure. Everybody has problems, kind of like my ex-girlfriend. It all has issues. You know what I mean? Everybody has problems in their life. I get it. But at the end of the day, we try to make the best of the situations, and we try to move forward and, gather what we can and have a good time while doing it. And, the one thing I will say that I do heavily agree with Jerome with, and I think it deserves a little further discussion, is the transparency in Season of Discovery. And I have no hairs on my tongue. I always speak as truthful as possible as I can, but at the end of the day, I do think the developers need to be very clear with their community a little bit more and figure out their directions of communication on where they decide to post stuff. I respect the fact that they come to a lot of content creators channels, even mine, a lot of yours in the past as well, and have said things to, engage into a discussion, and we would see it on Wowhead. But I think these things need to be more center line and focus on a specific spot. And they did something with the Twitter, when they made the WoW Classic Twitter handle, right? I think they should have made a WoW Season of Discovery YouTube channel or something else where it was postful updates time to time to actually talk with their community. That's the one thing I'm going to say real quick that I credited the Diablo team with, even though I think Diablo 4 sucks. That's just my opinion. I'm a big fan of the older Diablos. But regardless, I do give the Diablo team credit. They at least went on monthly updates or actual live streams of talking about what they're doing to the game, decisions on fixing dungeons, yada yada, and trying to improve that game, right? But regardless, we haven't seen any of that from the Season of Discovery developers in quite some time. Heck, I mean, there was times where I was even asking for hype trailers for these phases, and they weren't even coming out. So I think more transparency is the key in the future, and not really doing a lot of this cryptic messaging, and just having more of just direct communication, so their fan base knows what the hell is going on. Truth be told,
I absolutely agree. I think Agron should become a YouTuber and start making videos.
That's what I'm saying.
But
true, Agron should, yeah.
I do agree with you in terms of communication. I know a lot of people were hoping for dev interviews, more just sharing information. We got a nice video for Phase 8, but I do think a lot of people miss when Agron was talking to people all the time. I understand why he stopped for the most part, but I do wish there was more communication on a constant basis. Whether that was from an official, like you said, monthly video, a weekly post on the official Blizzard forums or whatever, where they break down the plans and things of that nature. Maybe for Class Plus we'll get that. Maybe we'll get a poll, things of that nature. It would be nice, but I do completely agree with what you both were saying. So we are going to move on to something that's happened recently that's been very, very interesting. And I know many of you have heard of this, but the retail one-button macro, because accessibility and to make the game easier for people to play. Now, I have a couple of thoughts on this, some slightly controversial, some not so controversial. But what are you guys' thoughts on the one-button macro in retail? Jerome, do you want to start as the guest?
Yeah, can we cut this part? I full on blacked out.
My man was talking to his chat.
No, I was not, dude. I was not.
Wait.
Don't cut all this, bro. We gotta cut this part.
Having this damn protein shake. Wake
was
up.
He talking about the one-button macros or
Yes.
Kansu and
The
he was talking
one-button
about
macro.
one-button macros? Could you just pretend like you just asked that again?
Oh.
You got the power of editing, bro. You got editing,
Scene
right?
two, scene
You're
two.
an editor, right? You're an editor. You know what to do here.
Jerome, I will personally shave your head if you make me edit out one more part of this podcast. Do you
It's
understand?
only gonna take you another half an hour of work, or maybe 3 hours or 4.
I will shave your head. Pay attention.
Okay, yeah.
Time
Yeah, I'm
frame,
paying full
scene
attention.
2.
I'm locked in.
Scene 2.
What are your thoughts on the one-button macro?
Okay, I'm gonna be 100% with you. I feel like whenever I move, I mess my rotation up. So having a one-button rotation kind of makes perfect sense. Now, what's crazy, they don't really talk about this part. It's going to pick the actual correct ability, like literally the best possible ability, which might not even be like something that you or I even think of. Like it's going to literally play your rotation perfectly. And the drawback is you're going to have like an extra latency of like, say, 200 milliseconds on your rotation. I'm going to bet that in a lot of cases, that's going to actually still end up with a DPS increase for most players. So I think it's pretty insane. Like, it definitely motivates me to play some retail, and just, I know for a fact I can get in there and be relatively competitive and maybe even do some eventual heroic clears and stuff. So I don't know. I'm sold. I like it. They made the fight so movement heavy. So, I mean, this is the bed they've made. So what can we do?
Okay, that's interesting. Hello, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you got to look at it like this. These things already exist in retail with Hikili. Hikili is an add-on that already tells you where to push your buttons. It doesn't give you a one-button macro. I know there are people that try to, go for that. But like as far as like, Hikili, it did the same thing where like it would tell you your rotation. Now, for some people, that was a DPS loss. Maybe even a lot of people, where because you don't really get to learn your character. You don't really get to go through the in and outs and correctly put the same combinations of rotations in the order that you want to do. And then there's sometimes in some moments you have to go for like a different play, whether it's like, for example, if I have to throw like a lay on hands on someone, or if I have to bop someone, you know what I mean? Like, Hikili would definitely offer some of those options. It's a very smart add-on. They were even talking, I know Ian was talking about basing his their new what you call it? I guess their embedded new UI add-on based off of Hikili into the game. But I think the problem is there's two things with it. It's one where I would see, I guess not even it's really a problem. It's a solution for people who need accessibility assistance, because there are games out there, and this is an example. I know it's not an MMO, but The Last of Us has accessibility. It's a solo, single player game, and it has accessibility options for people that need help, right? Like, they need those accessibility options. And for some people, who play World of Warcraft, maybe they have a disability, or maybe they need assistance and they want to play World of Warcraft because it's their favorite game. And I totally respect that. I am not going to tackle anybody that has a general issue and they want to play the game and still enjoy what they, love to do. But for another thing, I do think it takes away from the player in depthness of learning your character, and at the same time, it helps with like, knowing what your abilities do, but it doesn't really give you the human interaction like a lot of these guides do online. Like if you go to WoW heads, or you go to, in class discords and talk about stuff and actually look at WoW logs and break down, statistics. So it's a double-sided sword. I'm gonna say it's a double-sided sword. I don't know how I genuinely feel about it. I think it's good for people that need the accessibility option. I think it's bad for people who really want to learn their character in a more in-depth state. So that's my final answer, Coach.
No, I respect it. I completely get what you're saying. My point of view on it is, I feel like they needed to make this accessibility feature because they've made the game so complicated that the average person just struggles to play now, right? The casual players. If the average rotation for any class to play optimally is 15 to 19 buttons. You have to cycle through that many buttons, give or take. Now, I'm not the biggest retail player. I don't really do like Mythic 10s and 15s. I don't Mythic Raid. I don't play at the highest level. And at the highest level, it makes sense. But I feel like the game has gotten tuned to the Mythic level of gameplay so much that instead of addressing the issues with the game, they made an accessibility add-on or UI built in, which there's nothing wrong with it. If they got to make the game accessible to people that need it with disabilities, and I respect that completely. But I feel like this is a band-aid fix to poor game design. I feel like they should be addressing the core of retail and making the game not be so needlessly complicated because add-ons. So instead of just making the add-ons make this easier, so we've got to make this harder. So now you can't play without 10 add-ons, and the game is incredibly complicated and difficult that they need to make this so as people can actually move around and dodge mechanics and still hit their abilities. That's a flaw in the entire game's complete design. I'm not saying what the fix is. I'm not a game designer at that level, but I think retail is fundamentally flawed if the fix to making the game accessible and playable to people who don't have the time to learn or have disabilities is to have the game play for you. At least that's my point of view.
Here's the thing though. I have a prediction that the average player will increase their DPS with this button because it is algorithmic. It is like an intelligent, here's the correct button to press. And yes, there's a 200 millisecond delay, but I actually do think we'll still end up with a DPS increase for most players. And I think that's the real news here is like the average player is going to go significantly up in terms of damage because most people are probably pressing the wrong buttons.
I mean, but does this, I need to ask a couple of questions about this too, and you guys might know this as well, but does this new, I guess, Hikili, where I keep thinking Hikili because I know about it from, War Within, but does this version of WoW's new Hikili, their new built-in one macro, it has a GCD attached to it, right? It has
something like 200 millisecond.
200 millisecond delay.
Are people going to be able to edit or tweak this, or is this like an optional thing?
It's like purposeful to make it worse than just doing the buttons correctly. It's a nerf so that they don't give you more damage by just
true.
If you didn't have the delay, the one button rotation would be the highest DPS all the time. But that's essentially the goal of it. So,
but as much as this is going to benefit also people with accessibility options, which once again we have to reiterate this, there's no problem with that. So
absolutely,
just twisted it in the comments. This is also going to help out bots.
Yes, that is definitely going to help out bots.
because now you are just like, talk about full automation. You know what I mean? Like completely, these guys are not even need to be at their desk anymore. They can go get a salad and go to Dunkin' Donuts and probably hit the mall for a couple hours and come back and, you know, just clearing raids because this is just doing full automation. Now, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I definitely think this is going to help them out as well. You got to look at it from that point of view. I'm not saying Blizzard doesn't, you know, do a good job on whatever when it comes to the whole bot situation. You know, that's a whole nother combo. But as far as like, you know, the automation, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make a difference for them at the end of the day. Maybe their scripts are so good that this doesn't matter to them. You know what I mean? But I also saw one other thing too that I saw on Twitter where Zaryu was getting a little bit of a response from this, where people were disagreeing with him in terms of the automation thing, where he was getting a lot of flack from the community for people saying that he just was wrong on this, because, you know, Zaryu's a skillful player, you know, and I could see it when you come from a skillful player mindset and like, you know, your rotations, you play your class, you might be against this. But I do think for people who need this type of assistance, I understand where they're coming from. I don't necessarily think it's a super bad thing, but it does lead to that double-edged sword, like I said earlier, which causes like now there's this turmoil and there could be some drama from it, you know?
I think the main problem is that overall, the one button macro is really good for people with disabilities and people that need it. The main problem is, I know a lot of retail players that don't really partake in anything above a Mythic 0. That's probably the highest they play. They do normal raids looking for raid, because the game is so complicated. If you're an average Bob or Jane and you have 3 hours a week to play, you're not going into a normal where you have to learn your class in and out. The game is so complicated and convoluted that you just play, you know, you collect, you do things. They've made the game so pointlessly complex that the average player can't actually play anymore. Like Jerome was saying, the average DPS for a lot of players will probably go up with this one button macro because they don't actually have to learn their class. Keep in mind, look at classic players, for example. The average anniversary player is pressing one button, maybe two, maybe three, right? In SoD, you're pressing 6 or 7. How many buttons do you press as a high-passing ret paladin in SoD?
Oh, gosh, it's got to be like, I mean, this is the worst example. They have the most buttons, probably like 9. It's a lot of buttons.
And retail is 15 to 19 to play your class optimally.
And I would say Ret Paladin is almost excessive with the number of buttons. Especially if you're playing like the Wrath-like rotation. Your hands start to really hurt by the end of that. And so I would say, and that's like the most buttons.
Yeah, there is other classes in retail that press more buttons than others, but I know for a lot of memes in the Ret community, it's just mainly Divine Storm, Divine Storm, Divine Storm. they would tell you that for sure, it is a crazy amount of damage.
But like the point is, when the game is so complex, adding this is a band-aid fix. The game doesn't need to be that complex. This isn't Dark Souls. At Mythic raiding, yeah, of course, you need to press a lot of buttons, but they're literally making the game more difficult to compensate for add-ons. They should be dealing with the add-on problem, and instead of just making the game more and more difficult to compensate for the top-end players using tens upon tens of add-ons. It's a game of cat and mouse that's negative for the game overall.
I think that's where they went wrong, though, is that the problem is that they took the idea of challenge and decided to say, how can we get more challenging? How can we add more stuff to make people move more? And then they thought that movement was the key to making good raids, in my opinion, where it's just nonstop movement, nonstop avoidance. Drop this off. You have to have this person over here. You can't go by the, you know what I mean? Like, it just got to the point where the game became it's literally becoming Dance Dance Revolution. Like, the game is, if you're not playing Dance Dance Revolution and actively using your kit, you're playing the game wrong. So I just think the sense of direction on like how to make raids actually fun has been lost in the Blizzard timeline for quite some time. And there has been some good raids in certain expansions that were enjoyable, for sure. You know, I'm not going to knock that whatsoever. But in my opinion, I think the Undermine looks really cool. I can't hate on that. I do think it looks really sick. But I think the concept of the game itself, like the meat and potatoes of just it being constantly, you have to play DDR and footsies nonstop. I don't think that's just a fun way of going about it. I think there could be genuinely better ideas always around the corner that they're just not finding yet.
I absolutely agree. I think retail looks really fun. The Undermine racing, all the new little mechanics and things to do. Retail's art has always been relatively fun. The design has always been relatively cool. I just like the thing I've I have with retail, the thing I struggle with is I get bored a couple of weeks in because of the chorness and the grind of it. Now, I'm not trying to speak for retail players. Retail players love retail for a specific reason. I'm a classic player at the end of the day. But in my personal opinion, the hate Zaryu got for his point, I think, was unjustified. Because he wasn't talking about it from the point of accessibility. He was talking about it from the point of, this is a band-aid fix to a much deeper underlying problem. And people took it as a way of him dissing disabled people, saying disabled people shouldn't play the game, which isn't what he said.
Yeah, I think they took it the wrong way. And you know, I don't think any of us have hate on Zarya. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not. Maybe the things he words sometimes is not the way people hear it, and like you could say anything nowadays online and people take it and they twist it and then they try to take offense to it. You know what I mean? So I think we got to give the guy a break, man. Like, I'm sure he didn't mean anything that he meant to say in that certain situation. And, I think at the end of the day, just like any other player, he just wants the best for the game as much as everybody does. You know what I mean? Like, let's not, we don't need to blow things out of proportion, for sure. And I'm not saying we are, but I'm just saying like, the people in the comments, I'm sure they'll say something about it.
But okay, that's enough about retail. Unless any of you want to add anything about retail. Are you guys good? The silence.
I think I'm good.
Okay. We'll move on.
I would like to. Okay. I'd like to note that I went to a IRL WoW thing recently, and of like 200 people I saw, 197 of them were playing retail. So I don't know what that means for the future, but definitely feels like we're all going to be somehow playing retail against our will, forced to do it.
What was the event?
We're gonna be raiding Undermine all day.
But what was the event you went to?
I don't know. It was in Toronto. It was just like a meetup. But the point is that everyone there was doing retail mythic keys, all of them, and arguing about evokers. It was actually really terrifying. I was very scared and kind of sad. Like,
interesting.
I was freaked out.
I wouldn't be surprised that there's more retail players at the current stage of the game because it's much more casual friendly. So, I mean, at least in my point of view, I'm not saying it is. It just feels like it. Collecting all the content, all things like that. So, hey, maybe we're all going to be mythic players in a couple of months.
You know what? I'll be controversial. Fuck that. Let's lock it in with Classic Plus. We're full Classic Andes, and that's about it. All right, Classic till we're 80, and then we're dead. And then tell your kids to play it.
You're right. I ain't gonna play that
Enough
retail
of this shit.
We're playing Classic.
Yeah.
We're not going.
Yeah.
How dare you, Evan Hart? We're not playing anything but Classic. Yeah. How about you try to
Evan,
turn
let me move in. I want to pet the dog. All right, that's another.
Yeah, we're moving in.
You're welcome. I live in a 19-bedroom mansion. You all can come live in. Yeah, no problem. You can live with the honey.
True.
But moving on to the next topic, the other versions of Classic now that SoD is ending. Now, I know this is kind of a controversial one because a lot of SoD players don't want to actually play other versions of Classic. But let's start with you, Jerome. Where are you going when SoD finally ends? What is your plans?
I hate to say it, but I'm making a panda. When I first saw those pandas, I was horrified and disgusted. And now that I've heard they do the most damage, I'm going to be playing a monk and topping the meters. So look forward to me bandwagoning another DPS class yet again.
Okay, interesting. So you're playing a monk, a Pandaren monk. So congratulations. Yep. Hopefully it's fun.
Thank you.
Why are you choosing to go to, for example, Mists of Pandaria instead of Anniversary?
Well, I don't really know. I think I probably should have gone to Anniversary, but it's super late and everybody's been ranking for like 3 months. So I feel like I'm kind of too late to get to that. I actually am literally the walking meme of, is it too late to come back to this? That's actually me with Anniversary. And I think the answer is yes. And I'm not too late to mop. So yeah, it hasn't come out yet. So this is perfect timing.
Okay, that's valid. What about you, Tello? Are you going to Anniversary or are you going to mop?
I mean, I am. I'm not gonna lie. There is a debate for me going to Anniversary and leveling up on the Horde and doing something over there. But at the end of the day, I have my faith in Blizzard, and I know they'll never let me down because a credit card a day can get a level 80 today. So lock in with your credit cards when the boost comes out because there will be a boost for sure, and I will do that. But besides that, I think I am going to be in Panda Land. Yeah, it seems like I am going to be going to Panda Land. Mop Remix, I really got a really good impression of like just the overall dungeons and raiding, and I thought it was really cool, even though it was at a fast pace, to the point where I was like, you know what, I'd actually give this a shot and try out, you know, maybe a class or two, and see what it's like. So yeah, I definitely think I'm going to be going over there. Horde on Faralina, I believe. I think I'm going to be going. So I think that's my angle. But what about you? Are you going to be going to Panda Land? Are you considering Anniversary, or are you kind of like in the middle, or like, maybe I'll, you know, move, have a vacation for a little bit?
For me, it's a little rough because I'm the biggest Classic Plus shill, and there is no Classic Plus until BlizzCon next year, which we'll talk about that later on. So I have to essentially waste time till TBC Anniversary, which means I'm personally not really for MOP or Anniversary, but those are my options. Unless I just want to raid Scarlet Enclave for the next, TBC, let's say, comes out in November or December. It is currently May. The next 7 months, I don't think I could do Scarlet Enclave for 7 months without wanting to, seriously hurt myself. So I'm doing MOP into some Anniversary leveling and just waiting for TBC. Honestly, that's essentially my plan. I want to level a Warlock, do some DPS stuff. Me and San Medina trying to run the world's largest GDKP, which means we want to see billions of gold get spent. I don't know if the project's going to come to fruition, but it sounds like it could be really fun if we could actually figure it out somehow. But that's essentially all there really is to it. I feel like everything right now is kind of a stopgap. Like, I don't actually have any problem with MOP itself. I think MOP Classic's really fun because, like you said, Remix was really, really enjoyable. I actually loved Remix. But that was really recent. Remix was less than 12 months ago. Actually, I think it was like 6 months ago, wasn't it? When did Remix end? Has it been 6 months?
Yeah, it's been a couple months. It hasn't been 12 months. It's definitely been only a couple months since Remix.
So, like, overall, like, what are your thoughts on MOP Classic as a whole? Do you think it's actually classic? That's actually an interesting discussion. Jerome.
No.
Jerome. Is MOP classic? And if yes, why? If not, why not?
It's not classic. It's way closer to retail, and I would say it's not. I mean, I'm watching Jay Tello shake his head so violently. It's almost like I can't even think. I can't even focus about. It's just not retail. I mean, it's retail, right? It's got all the retail trappings. It's not classic. It's not about the open world. Honestly, like, the servers are the best indicator. Literally every server is 100% to 0. So there's no PvP. You never see anybody that's on the other faction. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, there's no open world, right? You're just going. I mean, yes, you go around the Panda Land, but you're not gonna like hang out. You go on epic journeys, do hardcore, all this stuff that people do in classic.
He's right. He's 100% right. There's no debating that. Like, it's just unfortunate. I mean, the open world is not there. But the activities for you to do as a player, are there, right? But more PvE sided. And as far as the talent system, I've had my, not my, I don't know, I wouldn't say like likings, but like I'm not a fan of like the whole waiting every other couple levels in order to get a talent, But regardless of that, I will say I am looking forward to the dungeons. The dungeons are really cool. I'm looking forward to the arenas. Arenas are sick. I like arena PvP because I think that is the best form of PvP, because that is like the actual genuine, like, using your brain and like getting involved. And I like the raiding. The raiding in MOP is sick. Like Throne and Thunder is sick. Like, really cool. What's the other one? Moshagun's Vault, I believe. I forgot the name of it.
Palace, I think.
Or Palace, yeah. Cool, right? I think the Siege of Orgrimmar, right? Like, that is also pretty badass. So overall, I'm a fan of it, and I want to try that out and give it a shot, and just go from there. I think that's pretty much the angle for myself.
So before I ask the question about TBC versus MOP Classic, what are you guys' thoughts on TBC Anniversary? Are you guys excited? Are you guys actually gonna play?
Literally caught myself daydreaming about TBC, how fun it's going to be, how awesome it's going to be. I love TBC. I want to play it again. It's just, I don't know, so many good memories, everything about it. Even the Battlegrounds. This is my first time playing arenas. I want to do double rogue and get to gladiator, even though I wouldn't even be good at the game, right? You just get warglaves, you have fun. Like, there's so many crazy overpowered things you can do. And I just, for some reason, I'm like really into it.
Okay, what about you, Tello? How excited are you for TBC?
Hell yeah, you had to make me get a couple pumps of the hand sanitizer for this one. I'm fresh. I'm ready for it. Just to get cleanse of all this nonsense. No more Panda Lands. Forget about the potentials of Phase 8s. I'm waiting for the TBC date. Lock it in. Let's get there. I can't wait because I love TBC. I don't care what anyone says. For me, TBC is an absolute blast. It's just a fun time all around. There's a lot of fun moments. I know people the rating scene gets a little crazy over there too, towards going towards what do you call it, the Eye and Sunwell and all that stuff. But regardless of that, yeah, I'm looking forward to arenas, and I'm looking forward to hell maybe even trying more than just one class and doing just a paladin. I would like to try something else too. But yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute enjoyable time. And you know what it is too. Let me put it down like this, so why I love it so much, so you understand too. I think, unfortunately, when you guys remember when COVID hit, a little virus called COVID. Yeah, well, it kind of went worldwide. But besides that, when Classic happened and we went right into TBC, I felt like TBC was a blur. I do not remember it. I was there and I was gone. And then there was RAF, along with the thousands of Chinese bots that came along with it. So, unfortunately, all I remember was 2019. It was lit. TBC went away, and then there was RAF, and I haven't seen TBC since. So I feel like it's been some time. I want to enjoy it, and I really hope they decide to extend it, make it a nice, like, lengthy, couple phases, and people really get to have a good time with it, and then go from there to see what they're gonna do. But I really want to have fun. What about you? Are you looking forward to playing TBC? Is it an angle for you?
TBC is the thing I'm most excited for, not counting Classic Plus. I like you said, COVID and everything, TBC was a blur. And
yep.
I don't actually, it's my favorite expansion. I don't really remember that much from it. And I feel like I didn't give it the attention and time it really deserved. So this time around, I'm going to play the shit out of it. But also, I wasn't a content creator back then. I didn't start making content until SoD. So this is going to be my first time being a content creator during TBC, which is actually kind of interesting. But at the same time, I do think TBC is an amazing expansion in terms of arenas, the raids, the vibes, 25-man raid size. I just feel like I have vanilla fatigue. I feel like I'm just kind of burning out of vanilla, burning out of Classic. I think I'm just starting to get tired because we've essentially, for 6 years, we've effectively had vanilla minus a very short gap with like the first 12 months of TBC. We've had vanilla every single time since then. SOM, and then we had SoD, and then we had Anniversary. We haven't actually gotten away from vanilla for very long, if at all. And I feel like we need a break from vanilla until Classic Plus. So I think we need that TBC content to actually give us some breathing room from the constant 1 to 60 and Molten Core. Because I love Molten Core, but I'm sick of seeing Ragnaros' big ass. Like, it's just like, I just want TBC because honestly, my options are Mr. Pandaria or TBC. I'm not going to lie to you. Panda Land is gorgeous, but it's Panda Land. It's essentially the very beginning of retail. Cataclysm is the bridge between Classic and retail, but MOP is retail, the beginning. At least that's my opinion.
I think MOP's going to be fun for some people. I think, Jerome might even enjoy it himself as well, and I think we'll all enjoy it for the time being. And then when that TBC announcement happens and we jump boat, if it's happening rather sooner than later, we all got to see the time frame and what they're going to do. I know they have their original roadmap and stuff, but I mean, I'm just looking forward to be involved in World of Warcraft gaming. I think that's something that we have to look we have to be on a neutral stance about that. At least we have options. Now, for some people, they feel like there's too many options, right? But at the same time, I'd rather have the options than not have them at all. Because if it was just only Classic and no hopes for Classic Plus and just retail, I'd still be playing Classic. I would not want to be touching retail personally. I'm a Classic guy. I've always been a Classic guy. I've grown up watching Classic creators, and I just love the heart of Classic. Even if I had a raid with 40 warriors and I'm the one paladin. But regardless, it is what it is. But I'm happy that MOP's an option for people to try, and then we got TBC, and then hopefully at next BlizzCon they release the bomb that we all want to see, and go from there.
Actually, I do have a question for the both of you. Are you guys playing MOP because you're actually excited, or are you guys playing MOP because you're just waiting for TBC and you need something to do in the meantime? Like, are you guys going to quit MOP the moment TBC drops?
At first, I was like, I don't really want to play. But then I thought to myself, I could like find a guild and like do some planning and actually have a lot of fun with it. So like I'm like actually farming golden cattle right now. Like there's a lot of things I'm doing that usually I don't do that I'm expecting will result in higher enjoyment of the game. So like actually preparing for once. So yeah, I want to play it. I'm excited.
But are you gonna quit the moment TBC comes out, or are you gonna keep playing MoP? Like, is MoP something you're playing to fill in the gap of content, or is MoP something you're actually excited for to enjoy and play?
I think I'm actually excited for it. I don't know why. Like there's something I feel like something in my brain is broken or something because I don't know why I'm excited for it, but I want to freaking get in there and go crazy on those pandas, you know?
Valid. What about you, Tello?
Well, I mean, I could see it. I mean, honestly, I'm in the middle where I want to see how much time and investment MoP is going to take from me, and whether I can, handle it. Because at the end of the day, like, times are always changing. You never know where you want to bring your content at the end of the day, especially from a creator perspective. But as far as like, enjoying it, yeah, I guess it's more of a heat in the moment type of thing. I'll see how much fun it actually provides, and if it's good, I'll ride it out for sure. But then when TBC comes around, I know how I am. I'm definitely going to be want to play both, and then there's going to come to that point where I might want to play one more than the other. So I gotta see. I gotta see, and maybe if the pandas really motivate me, maybe I'll hop on the Jerome spaceship and we'll ride Panda Land together, and we'll be happy ever after from there. We'll see. But I guess that's the angle.
I'm dealing with a puppy and a dog, and they're both being annoying as all hell. But before we move on to the next topic, Retail, WoW, and Midnight. That is the final version of World of Warcraft essentially available to everybody. Now, I assume you've both played the war within a decent amount. What are you guys' thoughts on Midnight and it coming out soon? Do you think Midnight's actually going to draw a large portion of the classic player base? For people that are burnt out of, classic and TBC, they don't really care for it. And the people that are just saying, well, we're already a retail, might as well go to the future version. Do you think Midnight's actually going to cannibalize a huge portion of the classic player base when it drops around February next year?
I think, yes, a lot of the classic player base are going to want to play it because the player housing, dude. I mean, I don't care what the MMO is. If there's player housing, I get way into it. Like, I love people giving me house tours. I mean, I literally go crazy for that. So that's just like exactly the part of my brain that I like. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing. So I don't really know or care what the rest of the game is, but the player housing alone is going to just pull me away from classic, at least for like a long time.
Okay. What about you, Tello? What are you thinking about Midnight?
I agree as well on that, because you got to think about it like this. Housing in so many other games, FF14, even Lost Ark had islands where people can visit your islands. Hell, if you even want to take it as far back as Star Wars The Old Republic, you can have your own like private homes, and people could visit your homes depending on like where you were and like in a different planet, etc. There were so many different ways to go about it. So finally now, World of Warcraft adding that type of housing, I think is going to draw a lot of people in, and they're going to want to go back and do a lot of old content and clear stuff to get different cosmetics and transmogs and get more stuff for their housing. And people are going to be excited because it's an actual like big player thing where so many people are going to be visiting their houses, and it's very community invested. I personally think that's Retail WoW's greatest decision. I think that's one of the coolest things, because what a way to get your players involved by showing off your cool stuff. Like, that's what we all like to do. We like to play games to show off. We're a bunch of show-offs, and we know it. But we get to actually show it off this time, which is badass. And I do appreciate that. And I think, yeah, it will draw from the classic player base for sure. But like everything that happens with retail after time, that number will dwindle back down, and it will find its set course of pace. And then people will more than likely want to do other things.
Understandable. I think for me, Midnight is like the beginning of Chris Metten's full official return. So I want to see what the story and world looks like, because we're going back to Quel'Thalas, player housing, a lot of tweaks and changes to essentially the BFA to Dragonflight era. The War Within was the first separation from there, and now we have Midnight, which is officially Chris Metten's fully worked on trilogy, like what that's going to look like. So I do think there's going to be a lot that could draw in a lot of classic players to give it a try. I could see that if he actively fixed a lot of the issues plaguing retail, he could effectively steal a huge portion of the classic player base. and like TBC's numbers and MOP's numbers could quite literally crater down. I can't say for sure what it's going to look like, but I do believe that Midnight has the chance to, you know, unite a huge portion of the player base into retail once again. But like you said, there's also the chance that everyone comes back for 6 weeks and then everybody quits again after 6 weeks is done and then goes back to playing other games or other versions.
Because you always got to remember too, like at the end of the day, wherever the hype is, people follow the hype as well. Like if a bunch of creators decide to, for example, not saying like OnlyFans is going to happen again, right? But like if OnlyFans did decide to do it another run, or if like another big content thing decided to happen within any version of WoW, maybe MOP, it doesn't matter, TBC, etc. All I'm saying is this, is that if hype goes to a certain area, people will follow that hype. You can, disagree with that. You can agree with that. That's just the facts. Hype will follow wherever the hype goes. And if after some time, once Midnight is hype area is like gone down, it's just people are going to follow the train. They tend to do that all the time. It's like, wherever the cheese is at, they're going to go.
Understandable, honestly. So now we're going to move on to the last topic, the major topic, the big one. Classic Plus. Now, we know essentially based on everything the devs have teased, everything they've said, everything they've done, that Classic Plus is coming. Will it be called Classic Plus? Yes and no. But with Classic Plus essentially 18 months away, Jerome, what do you plan on doing in your wait for Classic Plus? Are you just going to be doing Classic until then? Just random versions, some retail? Are you going to just be staying as a WoW creator the whole way till then? Now, what are your plans for the next 18 months?
So I'm definitely going to be playing MOP. I would like to, does it have to be 18 months from now? Could it be like 6 months from now? Like, does it
Classic
have to
Plus?
be 18? Yeah. Why doesn't it just come out in 6 months?
Because that's around like 3 months from now not 3 months, because they said August 31st is the latest MOP Classic can come out. And then we know TBC is coming out around, October, November, December, which leaves Midnight to around February, March next year, because it's at 18 months for retail expansions.
Okay, here's
which
what
means they're not going to drop Classic
MOP.
Plus.
I'm going to get into MOP. I'm going to make that monk. I'm going to go crazy on those pandas. I'm going to make an arms warrior to bandwagon arms warriors too, okay? I'm going to do number 1 damage. Everyone's going to finally respect me. Second, I'm going to play TBC, okay? I'm going to get a character just in time for TBC. I'm going to be number 1 damage. People will finally respect me. Then, boom, we go right into Midnight. Okay, I get a sick house. I realize that everybody else has way more achievements than me, and my house will never be as good as theirs. And then I quit in disgrace. Okay, and then, boom, it's just in time for Classic Plus.
Okay, valid. And
yep.
Okay, Tello, before I go to the next part, what is your plan for the next 18 months? Are you going to be number 1 DPS in every version as well? Is that what you're going for?
Well, I thought about doing it vice versa, so I'm going to copy Jerome's plan, but I'm going to go in retail first, then I'm going to... No. No. But I think, honestly, I'm going to try what, I try to do best. And I'm going to try to, that I have that parsing mentality in me, like where I'm going to try to shoot for high parses. I'm going to try to get, a top, 100 or whatever I can in the world and aim for that goal. Especially when TBC comes out, I would love to hit the max rank and actually sweat on that and talk about it and make videos on that. I would love to make even videos on MOP as well, as in terms of like going to retail. I might check out it for sure. I'm not too, super ecstatic for that. That's not where my heart truly lies. Besides the housing, I do dig that 100%. But once, we get down the line to whatever they decide to put out for the next iteration of Classic, I think that's basically it for my plans as far as where I want to go. There's really not much else to it. And also, I'm going to say this now to not leave SoD hanging. I'm going to still play Season of Discovery and do some raid logs and pray and smoke the copium doink that we all smoke, the same doinker, and really pray that they do a Phase 9. But that's debatable. Let's settle down on that one.
Let's actually talk about that for a second. With Phase 9 and SoD. Jerome, do you actually believe there's going to be a Phase 9? Yes or no? No deaths to it?
I think they're going to. Yes, I think they're going to put in some kind of like very small thing, maybe like 1 secret boss or like an extra world boss or something. I think that makes sense. That's what they did with Wrath of the Lich King. It's like a good playbook.
Do you think they're going to do an actual big Phase 9, or do you think that's not going to happen at all?
No, like a very mini thing, like a one night kind of thing.
I
A
get what
one
you're
night
saying.
experience where you get like everybody goes to Dunkin' Donuts, we get salads, and we just have a good time.
Understandable. My question is, do you believe there's a chance that we get a proper full-on Phase 9? Like,
No.
I believe everybody agrees there's going to be something for Phase 9. But do you believe at all there's a chance for like a Scarlet Enclave level of content? Or do you think
Well,
SoD's
I
just
bet all
done?
my money on the Lakers, so I don't think you should ask me anything really, because
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's
yeah,
understandable.
yeah, maybe I'm not the prediction guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Jay Tello.
Tello, what are your predictions on a Phase 9?
Say hi, wave goodbye. Jerome loses money in 5. Lakers lost. However, though, yeah, it is what it is. I'll tell you this much. I really am gonna smoke the hopium copium doinker as long as I can and say that we might get something, but it's being realistic. There's every person has to come to terms when that time is up, and I do think SOD is hitting its end, unfortunately. And I would love to see them just say, guess what? We're not doing a full Phase 9, but here's an 8.5. We're giving you a couple more bits of content, things that we want to see in the future, like more dungeons, like what they did with Demon Fall Canyon. Just some other ways to, give people alternative routes to get other gear that's considered pre-bis for Scarlet Enclave would be really cool. Give people more gearing optimizations, maybe more class adjustments. Of course, you know me with the whole PvP thing. I would love to see more stuff for PvP, and just maybe even more battlegrounds, rank 15, whatever, 16, etc. But yeah, I would love to see that, but that's just a dream, right? And I'll tell you this right now. I'll say it right now. I'll do it live. If Agrin, if you're watching and you do it, I'll make an intro and I'll have the shirt off. I'll go full bear mode. All right. And it'll be a great thing. It'll be a great holiday. I tell you that much right now. I'll walk around my town with the shirt off and we'll have a World of Warcraft flag with it. Much love to you. I'll say it right now. I swear to God, I'll do it. I'll lock it in.
Agron, you heard him.
I lock it in. I'll do it. I bet you. I'll do it as good as Jerome does when he throws the feet in the air. Tell him, Jerome. Tell him, Jerome.
Bro, I just thought of a sick idea. What if they added like heroic versions of all the dungeons as like a final patch thing to get everybody like, if you want to keep, catching up. It's like a pipeline to gear.
That would
Why
be
not?
Oh my
solid.
god.
It's
The
an
hell with it.
experiment.
If they did that, I'd pop the shirt off and go crazy.
Yeah, 2 shirts off. Evan, you now.
Yeah, Evan
I
would
will
do
rip
too,
it
for
off.
sure.
Not take it off,
Yeah.
rip it off.
Yeah.
But
We're
actually,
into this,
Okay.
bro.
Jerome, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I asked this to Kago. Me and Tello answered last week as well. If you could have a dream Phase 9, not Classic Plus, Phase 9, any one piece of content, not like saying like everything, like a Hyjul, like Caverns of Time, what is your dream Phase 9?
Oh god, you took it right out of my head, my hands. Right, I wanted to do another Hyjul. Right, more wave based raids. I love wave based raids. They've always been my favorite. I like that little break you get as in between each wave. Right, and then like it's just so fun for me. I love Hyjul. It's my favorite raid ever.
Your dream Phase 9 is just a Hyjul raid, not a Hyjul zone, it's just a raid. A wave based raid.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
You uncreative motherfucker. Okay, I apologize. Okay. Now, the next question is Classic Plus itself. What does Classic Plus look like for you? I'm not talking about a phase, I'm talking about Classic Plus itself. Every creator I've asked has had a different answer on what the ideal Classic Plus is. What is the actual ideal Classic Plus for you?
For me, it immediately starts with gated leveling, which most people seem like they're pretending it never happened, but I love the gated leveling. Like you stop at level 25, everybody gets caught up, and you like for me those parts were way more fun than say going back to Nax or something, which is a great raid and I like it, but I really enjoyed the whole different way we were playing, and everyone honestly seems to have pretended it never happened. Like most people don't when I say the words gated leveling, they don't even know what that means. And I feel like I'm the only person who remembers, like, we were level 25, then we were 40, then we were 50. Like, nobody even knows that. It's crazy. But yeah, that's got to be part of it. I think that's like the biggest thing is like just going back to those early levels is so fun and everybody's playing different stuff. I would say like a little bit less class balancing, like just make it like more the classic we remember. I'm just saying mostly like I like warriors and stuff. I don't really want to see. I know a lot of Shadow Priest players. They don't need to be at the top of the meter at the start of every phase, and is what it is. But and I didn't like sign up for like warlocks and boomkins to be at the top either. I know Go is
Oh,
out on
oh,
vacation, but
me
I mean I
either.
kind of want to see warriors at the top, and maybe those nice ret paladins could deserve it too. But
Oh, true, true.
yeah, I mean they
Yeah,
usually don't.
yeah. I agree on that part.
Historically in classic they're not really up there. But what else would I like to see? Well, more PvP stuff. I think they could like. I think the Blood Moon was so amazing. Like you could definitely expand that kind of idea. Blood Moon, but like maybe spread out more so it's not so laggy, right? You give people more options of where to go. So I don't know. There's like so many cool things. I've always thought like I've always wanted to see that open world like kind of battle royale kind of thing, the Blood Moon thing they did. So doing that was amazing. So just expand on stuff like that, and yeah, just maybe some more raids. That'd be cool.
All right, I like that. I have a question for you. Tyler, you look like you want to say something. What's on your mind?
No. I'm just agreeing. That's all.
Okay.
I'm in shock. I love everything he's saying.
What are your thoughts on things like achievements and heroic dungeons and things of that nature? Do you think that belongs in Classic Plus?
I don't think achievements are needed, but what we do need, I think heroics are perfectly fine. I would honestly love heroics while you're leveling. So it's like, let's say you're leveling and you could do like a heroic lockout of dead mines. It's harder, but it gives you like more extra loot or something like that. And things like that where it's like super creative. It's different, but it's not. I don't think it has to just be like the retail system.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Do you think there should be new professions, or do you not think so? Like things like the sleeping bag, survival, stuff like that.
Oh, 100%. I think that'd be a great idea. I think if you could add more ways for people to go around the world, for example, like any kind of new professions that are like secondary professions would be amazing. And I also think things like jewel crafting would be really cool as well. It's like everybody likes jewel crafting, they love prospecting, and that's the kind of thing that I think just add some more professions. It's pretty easy for them to do, I bet.
Okay, that's valid. Interesting. Tello, has your thoughts changed since we last discussed this with Kago last week? Or do you still think the exact same?
I mean, no, I stick. Oh, sorry for the camera shaking. I stick to exactly what I said last week as well. TLDR. Just I really hope that they support people that really enjoy PvP that carries the game in the end when there's nothing really left to do besides raid logging. I'm really much looking forward to that. I hope. I guess things I didn't mention last week is I hope they add more support to professions to keep professions. Current and keep them available for everybody to want to enjoy and give more options to do with blacksmithing, engineering, alchemy, kind of like they did with the alchemy stuff where you can make procs of your flash and stuff like that. I think that's a great idea as well. It just adds more to the world. I like the whole cosmetic toy system as well. I think that's cool. It doesn't hurt the game whatsoever. I know a lot of other bigger creators they agreed with maybe even potential transmog if they decided to do that. I know we talked about that a little bit last week as well. As in terms of the whole talent discussion, what Jerome was saying before, I mean, there is a way where I feel like, if they decide to leave it like classic, that is cool. But I do think there are specific talents in everybody's tree that they can look at and be like, you know what, this ability is completely useless for PvE. Maybe we do something for PvEers and PvPers and try to figure something out, because they did something like this actually in Season of Discovery. I was talking about this the other day with my chat. If you look at the new thing that they did, and I don't try to make this about paladins, but it's just the facts though. They added something to the sunlight thing where it's only specifically a portion of it is used in PvE and not another portion of it is used in PvP. So I know they say they don't care about PvP, or at least they say they don't have the time for it, not to say they don't care. But if they're able to do that, then they can do something like that for a lot of talents in the future, and that's just a rune, right? That's just a rune, but I'm talking about adjustments of talents, which they've done in Season of Discovery. So I think they can definitely tweak about it a little bit. Maybe just don't make it as crazy as it is in SoD. Keep it like it was in Classic, but just with a little bump here and there. And then just go from there. And then as far as the world, more dungeons, more raiding content, and also clean up the raiding content, like as far as when how we feel about AQ and all that trash. Like maybe that doesn't need to have 1,000 pieces of trash in there all the time. Maybe there can be other portals and ways to get faster through the raid, kind of like we did with BFD and Nomergon. Those were great raids. I enjoyed BFD and Nomergon. Those were fun phases too in Season of Discovery. I'm sure you guys agree as well. Those were fun times because you can just get to the bosses, have fun, and just get in and out. And As far as the level cap with the 25 thing, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that 100%. I do think it was really fun in the first phase, but then when we got to like the level 50 cap, I was just eager to get to 60 at that point. So that's just a personal thing, but that's really about it.
I actually have a lot of new suggestions. I just that
okay,
came to
go
me
ahead.
in a dream.
Mhm.
Okay, number 1, Hydro Raid, obviously. Number 2, Archaeology. I think we all enjoyed it. Number 3, houses we own in the game itself. Now, some private servers have this where like you can literally own the house. Now, I don't know how that work with layers and stuff. Panda ladies, because who doesn't love them. We've got a Murloc raid, would be sick. A Grim Batol raid, a Gnome Street Racing Club would be like super cool to me personally.
Yeah.
Being able to play every single current race and class and like the retail ones from level 1 would be awesome. So like
Oh, so
literally
no
every
race
single one.
limitation.
Yeah, no, but literally every retail class and race combo added to SoD would be cool.
Ooh, that
And
might be
you're talking
debatable.
demon hunters
That's
and monks
We're
and death
talking
knights.
demon hunters. We're talking we're
Ooh.
talking Taran
But-
rogues. We're talking panda ladies.
But do you think that takes away from the classic feel
No,
at that
no.
point?
That only adds to the classic feel.
I'm gonna have to
Ooh, I don't
disagree with
know.
you there.
I don't know.
I
That's
do
tough.
think Death Knights might have a space in Classic Plus. Death Knights kind of still fit that vibe. They were meant to be in the game at the beginning. The initial class was called Rune Master, and they eventually scrapped it and remade them to Death Knights later on. So I could see Death Knights being a thing.
Also,
monks,
I have one more. Really, really long attunements for dungeons.
Okay, Jerome, I'm gonna revoke your speaking privileges right there. My brother just listed off retail.
Man.
Okay,
Oh, man,
I'm
wait,
gonna
so
stop you. I'm gonna
He
stop
just
you right
went
there.
down the retailer. I see this was a setup. This was a damn setup. That's what happened here.
I need you to take your earpiece off and tell Ian how's the coasters. No. But
He's on to something.
But okay. We are going to move on to the final topic. But before we do that, I was going to say something before Jerome started listening of retail features. In my opinion, Classic Plus is simply an expansion on Classic's world with new content and professions, dungeons, raids, zones, quest hubs, flight paths that expand upon Classic and make it smoother and funner without changing Classic. So I do agree with what you said initially with the class balance. I honestly think Red Paladin should not be great in raid, but I think they should still be the Giga Chads they are in PvP. But I think to compensate, Arena should have good gear for PvP classes. I think what made Classic so special initially was the fact that certain classes were PvP based and certain were PvE based. Shadow Priests were not that great in raids, but they were phenomenal in PvP. Same thing with Red Paladin. Same thing with Boomkins. But when you take them into raid, they were being honest, subpar. So I think those classes should be improved where they matter, but should not essentially be made the best thing in raiding. But that goes into a whole topic of class balance and tweaking, and we're never going to make everybody happy with that. I do think they should still have like pally tank and stuff like that, but that's at least my opinion. But now we're going to move on to the final topic. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up for today's episode? Any special topic, anything you want to talk about?
Jerome, anything in mind? Something
was thinking
lurking
about
in
this.
that brain of yours.
I was thinking about the panda ladies again. I'm sorry.
You just want to be in Panda Land. That's all it
No.
is.
SoD's really fun. I'm having a great time. I'm gonna try to pug my way to a Ashbringer. So if any guilds are looking for a Ret Paladin to take all of the ingots, I am available on Crusader Strike. My name is NoHitJerome. You need to bring me. I will take the ingots and then probably leave. And also I die pretty often and don't do much damage. And your other paladins will get pretty mad at me.
I second that. And then when you're on your way to Jerome, make a left-hand corner right next to the inn in Stormwind and come right to Tello and just say debated. Just debated and then give it to me.
Okay.
And then that would be even better. But besides that, I actually genuinely have a real one.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you guys think that the leveling should be as fast as it was right now as it currently is for alts in Season of Discovery? Do you think the leveling should be kept the same exact way where people are getting more gold and leveling faster? Or do you think it should keep its organic leveling process and be slow like it was in Classic?
I really like the fast leveling. I like that it gave gold as well, and it like rewarded you to have alts. I thought that was so cool, and it actually
For Classic
like
Plus. For Classic
I think it's perfect. Yeah, it's definitely perfect. I would say like it was pretty good speed, like the 1 to 25. If I remember, there was one phase where it was too slow. Was it the 40? Or maybe it was the 50. There was one where it was just like way too slow and everyone couldn't level their alts anymore and it got sad. So they've got to fix that. But 1 to 25 felt really good.
I actually personally think, and I do agree with you, I think the very first character you level should be like the regular vanilla speed. And I think every character you level after that should add an extra 150% leveling speed. I think the gold should be default. You get 300% gold no matter what. But I do think, like, you know, they should cap the experience at 450% after you've leveled 3 characters to max level. That way, the people that like alts can keep leveling alt. It's faster, smoother. If you don't like leveling alt, you get your one character, and then, you know, you're good regardless. I think they should reward you for actually leveling up, and if you enjoy it, you should get more rewards for leveling more characters. It's not like you make a lot of gold from questing. I think if you did every quest, you're looking at, what, 2,000 gold at most, which isn't a huge amount. So for the people that like leveling, it'd be a good way for the more casual people to make a lot of gold by just questing the open world.
I'll go halfway in the middle between you guys. I'll say a little bit of yours and a little bit of Jerome's, where it's kind of a little bit more, it's reduced, but it's still a nice pace. It's respectable to both ends, keeping the genuine care of the original classic players and also respecting the ideas of SoD. And I think it's somewhere in the middle you find that middle boundary. I also want to add this on top of it, and I know it's something we didn't discuss, but I just thought of it now. In TBC, when they used to have reputational vendors, you know how, like, you know, it was cool to do your reputational vendors and you get, you know, a really cool item from your vendors, maybe even a mount or some type of cosmetic. I think they should add new reputational vendors to each other area in every single, like, portion of, let's say, Red Ridge, Arathi Highlands, Badlands, Blastlands. Each individual place should have its own unique new reputational vendor that people can get new cosmetics from, new style mounts from, and possibly new pre-bis items to add more optimization in the game to give players a chance to feel that the world is still alive, because it would keep those individual places populated when we know that's the #1 problem in World of Warcraft. And every creator says it in every video, that every piece of the original land feels empty. That would make no more places empty anymore, because people are always going there for some type of reputation, and each individual town that you visit matters, and now you get to hang out in those areas and have fun.
I like that. I do like that. I think it's a solid way. I think it's really cool that would be cool. It'd be hard to implement, but I actually like the idea of that quite a lot.
It's just an idea. I mean, maybe you don't need to do every single town. You get what I'm saying? But at least you get to do a couple towns, and those 3 towns are tied to a reputation. Another 3 towns, you know what I mean? You could definitely make it condensed, but still give a flavor to it, so people, whenever they're in the worlds of, like, you know, Eastern Kingdoms, or they're in Kalimdor, they can at least enjoy every place that they're at, because they're knowing they're getting some type of reward of slaying beasts there, doing professions there, and it matters in the long run. So now everywhere you're at, Azeroth feels alive again. And that's what it's all about, is making Azeroth alive.
100% agree with that. That is the truest thing I've heard. Azeroth dies pretty quickly when everyone gets to 60, and I think they need to give people a reason to keep leveling in those zones. I 100% agree with that. Jerome, do you have anything else you want to add? Or are you all tuckered out?
I feel insanely good, and I'm just wanted to say that. Sorry, I was thinking about the panda ladies again.
This guy, bro, unbelievable. This guy is head deep in the panda land.
Bro, I'm so excited, dude. I don't think I got a beta key yet, but when I finally get it, I'm gonna be so pumped, dude.
Okay, well, okay. And with that, we are going to end today's episode of the Classic Plus Show. You can find NoHitJerome over at Fur Affinity.
And also, please send me a beta key. I really need one, like, super bad. Sell me one. I don't care.
But jokes aside, Jerome, let everyone know where they can find you.
NoHitJeromer on Crusader Strike Alliance, where I am in need of ingots. Please invite me to your guild. Also, I'm on TikTok. I think I don't manage my TikTok. It's some guy.
Okay, then.
Remember. It's not important. Ask Tello.
Tello, let everyone know where they can find you.
Oh, hello, Jay Tello on Twitch TV, where the club is always lit on Azeroth, and we have a bunch of EU viewers partying over there. It's pretty lit.
And you can and you, of course, can't forget that. And you can all find me at Ebonheart TV on every platform. Thank you for coming, Jerome. I really do appreciate you showing up. It was a lovely episode, and I'll catch everybody next week with another new guest. Thank you, everybody. Have a phenomenal time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace, everyone.
Goodbye. Goodbye, guys.
Hey.